Go home, you broke old hag. Who do you think you are, coming to the trip for free? I was astonished at my family as usual. I'll show you hell. I decided to punish them. While I was away from my family enjoying some peace and quiet, my younger brother called me. Hey, what did you do, sis? My name is Karen, a 30-year-old office worker. I have a boyfriend of 3 years. His name is Adam, a wonderful man who is very gentle, caring, and considerate. We met when we were in university. He was a senior when I was a junior. Whenever I had some work or personal troubles, often confided in him. Every time he would listen empathetically to my stories and gave me sound advice. After graduation, we would meet up regularly, and one day he confessed his feelings to me, and we started dating. Since then, we have been getting along well, and I was thinking one day we will marry. One day, he finally proposed to me. Karen, I want to be with you forever, so will you marry me? Yes! And so we decided to get married. We soon went to announce our marriage to our respective families. I'm pleased to see you. I'm Karen. Oh, I'm glad we finally got to meet. Adam has talked about you a lot. He was right. You're such a lovely girl. Stop. I'm blushing. Oh, please don't be. Come in. Thank you. Adam had lost his father a few years ago, and now only his mother was left in his family home. I was very anxious about whether I would get along with my mother-in-law and whether she would like me, but I was relieved to find that she was a very kind and wonderful person. We had a delightful conversation over some tea and sweets. Karen is such a good girl. I'm so happy she'll be Adam's wife. His mother praised me very much. I'd never received so much compliments like this before, so I didn't know how to react and felt a little puzzled. We're looking forward to your wedding. See you, Mom. Thank you for today. The wedding greetings went well with a friendly atmosphere, and I felt relieved. But next, I had to introduce him to my family. Just thinking about it made me feel blue. You see, I don't really like my family that much. The reason is how my parents treated me since I was a child. Both of my parents were good at sports, with my mother doing track and field and my father playing soccer. Because they were both at a level to get recommended to university, they had high expectations for their own children to exceed in sports as well. But I didn't have the athletic ability that my parents hoped for. They tried to put me in various sports lessons, hoping I would exceed in something. I remember they made me play basketball, swimming, table tennis, and even figure skating. However, I had fundamentally poor athletic ability. Well, I might be considered average from a general perspective, but it was far from the level needed to pursue excellence. As a result, my parents were frustrated. In the midst of this, my younger brother, Kenny, was born. My parents expected that there were many sports in which boys could exceed, so they tried to make my brother participate in sports as well. Then, my brother showed talent in soccer. When the coach of the local youth soccer team said, "This kid is a genius," my parents were over the moon and began devoting all their love to my brother. Kenny is truly a genius. He takes after us, after all. Their words implied that I was an ordinary person and that they did not want to admit that I was their child. No matter what my parents did, they favored my brother and didn't care about me. I went to middle school and then to high school, but they still did not care. Even when I worked hard and achieved decent grades, my parents denied my efforts, saying, "Even if you're good at studying, it's meaningless." I told my parents that I wanted to attend college, but they said, "We can't pay for your tuition. You have to go on your own." I went to college on a scholarship. On the other hand, my brother continued to shine in soccer and got accepted into a high school on a soccer recommendation. My parents were ecstatic about this too. "With this, he'll undoubtedly go pro. I'll do anything for Kenny." Growing up loved and adored that way by my parents, my brother inevitably looked down on me. "Sis, you really are an incompetent, attract poverty to yourself type of person, aren't you? Even mom and dad don't like you. If it weren't for you, mom and dad would be more invested in me. You're a real pain in the ass." My brother used to bully me like that, and my parents never stopped him, but instead cursed with him together. "She's such a trouble. A money pit is a person like you, right?" I had lost all confidence in myself after being told such things by my own family. I did my best in my studies and went on to a reasonably good university and got a job at a big company with a high salary, but my low self-esteem was still low as ever. And me going to college and being hired at a big company would be instantly forgotten because of Kenny's success. Kenny was selected to go on to college as well as high school with a soccer recommendation. My parents were even more proud of my brother who, like them, had started a life career in sports. I was already working by then, but it was hard for me to save money every day because I had to pay back my scholarship. My brother stayed at home with his parents and received lots of love from them while attending college and continuing to play soccer. However, the road to becoming a professional soccer player was not easy. In the end, when it came time for him to graduate from college, he was still unable to become a professional soccer player and had to find a job. Our parents were still very proud of him, and he continued to live at home with his parents, getting along well with them. My parents always made me participate in their New Year's gatherings, but they explained to my relatives that I was a bad daughter and my brother was proud son. "But Karen is a good girl too. Working at a big company, you should be so proud." Even though my relatives would say that to me, my parents would just deny and say, No, Kenny is many times more amazing than her." I always feel disappointed when I see my parents act that way. My family treats me so poorly. I stopped attending New Year's gatherings, so I was very hesitant to let Adam, my dear fiancé, meet them. I have already told Adam about my parents and my brother and how poor their attitude is. However, he wanted to make a proper wedding greeting, so I decided to go back to my parents' house for the first time in several years. I called my mother to tell her about the marriage. "What? No, long time no see," or "How are you?" Just what I expected. Daughter calling her for the first time in a few years, and this is the reaction I get. "Can you hurry up and tell me what you want?" I'm getting married." So? He wants to say hi to you, so I was wondering if you'd meet with him." "Why do I have to go through all that trouble?" "If you want to get married, you can go ahead and do that on your own." No, I was disappointed in my mother's cold attitude. But then I heard a voice over the phone that sounded like my brother's. "Mom, who are you talking to?" It's Karen. She said she's getting married and wanted to bring her fiancé to say hello." "Wow, that sounds interesting. I want to see how dull the other guy is, so let's meet him." "Really? Well, if you say so." She picked up the phone and said, "Hello? You can come and say hello." I had mixed feelings because I could hear their conversation, but he still wanted to say hello, so I decided to go to my parents' house on my next day off. Be prepared for some really bad behavior. I look forward to it. If the conversation over the phone is true like you said, wow. It's not funny. I've had some really bad experiences. Sorry, but if we're going to get married, I'm going to have to meet your family. Let's just talk quickly and go home." "Okay." So we drove to my parents' house. When we arrived at my parents' house, I pressed the intercom, but no one greeted me. When I arrived at the living room, I found my family all sitting together on the sofa. I was surprised to see a young woman whom I did not know at the time. I thought I had to say hello first. "I'm home. Long time no see. This is my fiancé, Adam." "Nice to meet you." When I introduced him, everyone in the family looked at him. I thought he'd be more plain and dull. He's surprisingly decent. Kenny was rude right from the start. Adam was laughing. "What about that woman next to you, Kenny? Is she your girlfriend?" I called in advance about bringing my fiancé and he brought an irrelevant woman. I was astonished by how much he has no common sense. "That's my wife, Mira. She's been living here with me since we got married." "What? Your wife?" My eyes were widened with surprise. "Wait a minute, Kenny, you were married?" "Yeah, last year." "Wait, I didn't know that." I raised my voice involuntarily, and our mother made a disgusted face. "You're a picky kid, aren't you? You don't have anything to do with Kenny's marriage, so there's no need to tell you." No. My brother had gotten married and nobody told me. I was shocked and froze on the spot. Then my father spoke to Adam. "Like I care, but what do you do for a living?" "I know it's not much of a job since you're marrying Karen, but I'll ask you anyway." My father's words brought me back to myself. I would not allow my precious fiancé to be made fun of. I clenched my fists with anger, but Adam noticed and lightly restrained me with his hand. "Apologies, how rude of me to not introduce myself. This is who I am." Adam then handed his business card to my father. My father looked at the card with a disgusted look, then his eyes widened. "Lawyer?" my father shouted, and my whole family and Kenny's new wife was all in shock. "This is amazing! Mother, get him some tea, quickly!" Yes. Wow, a real lawyer? Cool! My family members blatantly changed their attitudes. Adam also rolled his eyes in dismay. "Man, I never would have imagined that Karen will be marrying a lawyer. Why didn't you say so? Is the salary really good? Please buy me a fancy bag or something for my birthday." I was appalled at my family, who were not shy about making such comments. As for my brother's wife, she's too impudent. How can she say such a thing to my fiance when you've never even met me before? Adam was laughing as he answered, "We're going to be a family now, so let's take care of each other." My mother said so, but I had a very bad feeling. Then my parents and my brother and his wife actively participated in the meeting of both families. They talked a lot in front of me, so Adam's mother was indeed a bit taken aback. I apologized to his mother after the meeting, but his mother seemed to have heard from Adam and said with a smile, "Don't worry about it." I was relieved for the time being. Adam's mother is really a good person. About 2 months later, Adam and I had our wedding ceremony. All of my family, who had treated me so poorly and never wanted to be involved with me, came to the wedding. After the wedding, they began to contact me more frequently. "Would you and your husband like to have dinner with us sometime? I know a great restaurant." That's how my mother will start the call. She was probably trying to get me because my husband is a lawyer and makes a lot of money. But I would not fall for her scheme. "I'm a little busy, so I don't think I'll be able to make it. I'll let you know when I can make it again." "Okay, I'll wait for your call. Anytime is okay for us." I was so disgusted with my mother, who said this in a bouncy voice. Apparently, she doesn't care about me and just wanted to take advantage of the fact that I married a rich man. After a few months of not contacting her, she called me again and said, "Hey, Karen, when are you going to get together with us?" My mother says that way in a wheedling tone of voice. "I'm sorry, I've been a little busy." When I was about to hang up the phone, "We're talking about celebrating my 60th birthday," she said. "We've been paying for your high school education and your father and I have been supporting you, haven't we? I think it's only right that you return the favor a little." Reading between the lines, I could sense her trying to say, "Pay us back." But what my mother said was true. I went to college on my own, but my parents had supported me through my life up to high school. It might be necessary for me to return the favor to my mother when she turns 60 years old. "All right, we'll join in the celebration." "Really? Then we are planning a family vacation, so let's go together." A family vacation? I didn't like the idea, but I thought it would give my husband and I some time alone together. I told my husband and he agreed, so we decided to join the family trip. When I told my mother about it, she was overjoyed. "Well, I'll send you the links of the hotels we want to stay at, the plans, other things on the internet." "What?" Then she sent me many links. I had no choice but to look at the contents. I found many websites of luxury hotels and restaurants. I wondered how extravagant she was planning this trip. I was appalled by the family's endless attempts to collect money from us, but I thought this would be the first and the last time, so I proceeded to make the reservations. My mother was overjoyed when I called her to tell her that the reservation was complete. "I'm looking forward to it. Thank you." The day of the family trip to celebrate her 60th birthday arrived. This time we planned a trip to Kyoto. We boarded the plane and headed for Kyoto. My parents and my brother and his wife looked very happy. When we arrived at the airport, my husband and I said we were going our separate ways and parted ways with them. They seemed to be trying to get us to buy souvenirs and stuff and wanted us to go around with them, but I managed to dodge their attempts and we went on our own. We went our separate ways and met in front of a fancy restaurant where we had made reservations for dinner. Time flew by as my husband and I enjoyed sightseeing. Then we went to the fancy restaurant. My parents and my brother and his wife were already in front of the restaurant. "You're late." "No, but we still have 10 minutes until our reservation." When I replied, my mother and brother suddenly changed their attitude. "I'm not talking to you." "What?" "Oh yeah, we're only here for you, Adam. Thank you for paying for our dinner at such a fancy restaurant and our stay at a fancy hotel." "What?" My husband rolled his eyes, not understanding what she was talking about. Then my brothers turned to me this time. "You're done here, sis." "What?" "I'm saying Adam's parasite has no right to have a good time." "Hey, what are you talking about?" While still being confused, they started to shout out, "Go home, you broke old hag! Who the hell do you think you are coming along on a free trip?" As usual, I was astonished at my family. "I see, so that's how it is. So they were going to exclude me from the beginning. I'll show you guys how." I decided to punish them. I whispered to Adam, "Okay, I'll leave here." My parents and my brother and his wife looked triumphant. They then took my husband into the restaurant. Then I quickly made some arrangements. Luckily, a good hotel had a cancellation and had a vacancy. So I made a reservation there and I checked right in. I checked in and took a relaxing bath in a hotel with a great view. I was relaxing a bit away from my family when I received a phone call from my brother. "Hey, what did you do, sis? What's wrong?" "I'll tell you what's wrong. Adam disappeared." "I don't know anything about that." "Don't be silly. You said something when you were whispering in his ear, didn't you?" He's usually an idiot, but he's got a good instinct for that kind of thing. "Yeah, well, it's no big deal." I told him I'll be staying at a different hotel, so to come over anytime. "Don't be silly. Adam, he said he got a phone call before the food came, got up from his seat, and didn't come back. He didn't come back until the end, and we had to pay for that expensive food and drink." "Oh, really? But it's your mother's 60th birthday celebration. Isn't it normal for you to pay?" "Shut up! I'm going to charge you for it later." With that, my brother hung up the phone. Soon after that, my husband came to the hotel where I was staying. He was smiling at me. How is he? Was he mad? He was very furious. "You were originally going to take care of the flight, the restaurant, and the hotel bill, but then they misunderstood and said something like that to you. Those people are beyond saving." My husband was indeed stunned. We got ourselves together and went to the hotel's high-class restaurant and enjoyed our meal. We went back to our room, relaxed, and welcomed the next morning. We woke up early and enjoyed sightseeing. We didn't want our flight time to conflict with our parents, so we changed our flight time and left early. While my husband and I were waiting for our flight to board, my phone was blowing up with numerous calls from my mother. "Hello, what's wrong?" I thought You didn't want me. What the hell is going on? Why aren't you paying for our accommodations? Because that's how I made the reservation. Don't be silly. I can't pay $700 per person. You had a good time. You should pay for it. Unless, of course, you want to get caught. That's enough. You are a parasite. And you're smug. You're the parasite? I was going to pay for this family vacation with all the money I've saved as a way of repaying you for all the support you've given me. It's your fault that you misunderstood and turned me away. What? Did you plan to pay for your own accommodation and food and drink? That's what I'm saying. Oh no, there's no way you can afford that much money. Don't underestimate me. I work for the head office of a big company and I'm a section chief there. I have quite a bit of money saved up and my monthly salary is a lot higher than my father's. What? My mother was absolutely stunned when she learned the truth. But it doesn't matter anymore. I decided to cut them off completely. I've got a plane ticket, so I'll see you later. Oh, hey! I hung up the phone and blocked all calls from my family's numbers. Fortunately, I didn't tell them where I worked or where we lived, so my family weren't able to reach me. But the idiot family stormed into the lawyer's office listed on the business card my husband gave them. They demanded to see my husband and interrupted his business. My brother even broke some equipment there, which was reported to the police. They were arrested. They had to pay for the damage and fines after spending so much money on a family vacation. And because of the arrest, both my father and brother were fired from their jobs. Now, they're all working part-time or as freelancers, living unwealthy lives and bickering constantly with each other. They really are idiots and they deserve it. Alternatively, my husband and I are still living happily and I got pregnant. I gave birth to a beautiful baby girl and rejoiced over the birth of my daughter with my husband and mother-in-law. I will continue to cherish this family, my husband, my mother-in-law, and my daughter, and will live and enjoy happily.